Welcome back. You're watching Story of the Week on ENCA. A teacher was shot dead in front of his pupils at a Durban school. Sibongiseni Nyawuse had just arrived at Masuku Primary in Fulweni when he was confronted by a gunman. The motive for the crime is still unknown. ENCA's Desintathia has more.
Sibongiseni Nyawuse didn't even make it into his classroom at Masuku Primary School on Tuesday morning. The senior teacher was shot in the head, meters away from where he'd just parked his car.
The children were playing here, and the teacher arrived to school, and while he was walking there in the passage, that's where he was approached by one unknown suspect who fired several gunshots to him and fatally wounding him. And the suspect ran out of the gate.
Nyawuse's body, although covered, remained in full view of pupils and parents for several hours while authorities worked at the scene. When his body was finally removed, shocked silence was replaced by the sound of collective grief.
Njengoba kwenzekile lokhu thina njengamalungu omphakathi inhliziyo zethu iqonsa igazi, ingane zethu ziyathuthumela, sizoqhubeka kanjani zifunde uma ngabe isimo sekanje.
The KwaZulu-Natal Education MEC, Kwazi Mshengu, has sent his condolences, promising that safety in schools will be prioritized. But it's too late for Sibongiseni Nyawuse. Desintathia in Fulweni, Durban.
One of the most outrageous suggestions for dealing with violence has been put forward by a teachers' union, suggesting that teachers carry guns to school. And that was quickly dismissed by the Department of Education. Our reporter, Desintathia, spoke to a school principal and academic researcher on the matter.
One of the issues that came out of your research was finding solutions to stopping violence in schools. So just quickly take me through the basis of your research and what led you in that direction.
Thank you, Jason. My research was influenced by the incidents, as you have reported, the increase in the incidents reported when the issue of school violence. And then I wanted to dig deeper as an educator myself, what are the causes and what can be done. So when I did my research, I interacted with all the stakeholders, the immediate stakeholders of the school, which are the learners, the educators, the parents, and the community members. And I implemented my action research in one school that I've chosen at Umlazi, where I implemented a model that, to me, I see as the model that can be tested to be used in this campaign of reducing the school violence.
One of the interesting things that I read was that you believe that violence is almost like a disease, or at least this is something that children or pupils are infected with. Just talk me through that.
The reason I believe that is because in my entire research, I followed the model that was developed in Chicago by the physician, which is Gary Slatskin, who said violence is like a disease, and it's not just a disease, it's a contagious disease, because it spreads from one person to another. So it clusters in certain areas, much like a disease. So what needs to be done is when you identify someone with violence, just interrupt or block that violence so that that person cannot transmit the violence to another person. So the whole thing that we are faced with now is to identify those who are already infected and block the inter-infection, just like we do when there is an outbreak for a cholera or for a TB. We treat those infected so that they cannot reinfect others.
As Forest High School pupils gathered to mourn one of their own, school safety was again under the spotlight. 16-year-old Daniel Bakwela was stabbed to death outside school last Monday. A 19-year-old pupil has been arrested and charged. ENCA's Lindo Kutle Kulu has the story.
united in song as they paid tribute to one of their schoolmates. But it was talk of social ills plaguing schools that dominated this memorial service.
Truth be told, our parents have failed us. Pointing fingers at the principal and educators is not a solution. I plead with you to please show this much support, not only at times like this, but all the time.
There are some people who are giving drugs to our kids at school, and we keep quiet because he's not my child.
The Bakwela family sat and listened, inconsolable in their grief. The Gauteng Education MEC says it's time to act.
We can't say our plans are working when a learner dies. So we need to review those plans. We are meeting with all SGBs this Friday. We are meeting with all learner representatives this Friday. We are meeting with all stakeholders within the education sector this Friday.
It's emerged Daniel Bakwela was facing charges of armed robbery. And Lisufi reveals 13 children in Gauteng are appearing in courts for various crimes committed outside school premises.
We've got 13 children across the province that are appearing in court for various crimes that they've committed outside the school premises. It's embarrassing.
He says all school pupils who have pending cases will now report to the department. But that's cold comfort for families who've lost children to school violence. Daniel Bakwela's funeral will be held on Saturday. Lindokuhle Xulu, Johannesburg.
Westbury community members have witnessed a spate of gang violence. Parents are living in constant fear for their own lives and those of their children. There have been a number of deaths, including that of Heather Peterson last year. Hers sparked a series of protests. ENCA reporter Masejo Rahlacha visited the area.
We used to stay together, all of us. The eldest one didn't have children. He didn't have a girlfriend. I was his mother. They were my friends. Because I don't have friends here. My children was my friends. For them just to die like that. My eldest son was shot during the day at about past 3 to 14 December 2016. And I saw how they shot him and how he died.
A mother still reeling from the murders of her 2 sons just 6 months apart back in late 2016 and early 2017. She and other parents here are worried about the futures of these little ones who have no choice but to live and go to school here. Some parks have apparently become drug zones. But police claim the violence has decreased since government ordered the tactical response team to be more visible.
Even last week, with an incident that happened at Johannesburg Magistrates Court, one suspect was arrested, and he was then linked to an attempted murder and murder cases of 2017. Even those that are behind bars as we speak, it's unfortunate that we cannot elaborate on that because it's in the court, but they have been linked to a number of incidents and cases that were reported in Westbury.
After spending most of Monday here, we finally managed to spot the TRT. This is where 45-year-old mother of 5 Heather Peterson took her last breath late last year. It's just a few meters from her home. Peterson's only crime, living in an area where ongoing gang violence is prevalent. A minor was also shot and injured in the crossfire. The members of the Westbury community took to the streets after the incident. Arrests were made, but the case is still pending. Masejo Rahlacha, Westbury.